You're the host now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Guys, before we go ahead, I'm sorry I didn't ask. Are there any quick questions you want me to address? Anything like very quick question, not a very long answer that would have anything which you wish to speak about, 1 or 2 line answers that would entail. Anyone?
So I have a question
Yeah,
regarding
okay.
NM Bangalore.
And in
Um,
Bangalore, okay.
I have a call from the college. I missed the call of Mumbai by 5 marks, the cutoff in quant. So
That's
how
okay.
good is NM Bangalore? Should I go for the interview or not?
First of all, always go for the interview. This is what my suggestion is. Even if nothing, I mean, there's this thing I heard that why is the college rejecting you? You're supposed to reject the college. So worst case scenario, you get in and you have to reject. So it does a boost to your confidence. A couple of months down the line, you have it. Ki, I got into NM Bangalore and I rejected it because I had a better offer. So that is point one. Point two. Even if nothing, you'll have an experience of giving an interview. So always give the interview. Give as many interviews as possible. As they say, ki cricket mein net practice is always good, but until and unless you actually play a match, yeah, there's nothing like that. So give it with all diligence. Make sure that you are able to crack it, and then decide. Once as Joshi Devesa says that once the ball is in your court, then you can actually decide about it. So I would say give it.
Okay.
Anyone else? And it's a good enough college. Sorry, it's a good enough college. The good enough is a term which is kind of different for different people, right? Someone good enough might be the average package would be, I don't know, 20 lakhs. For someone good enough might be the average package is 15 lakhs. You talk to an IIM Bangalore guy, he'll say the average package is 30 lakhs and not happy below that. So it depends what good enough is, what exactly is the amount of pressure. There's a word called work-life balance, which comes in later in your life as well. Like the more money you have, the more you'll have to work and all those things as well. So these things matter. So good enough is something which is subjective. But it's okay, you can go and still do good enough in life from an M
Is
Bangalore.
it worth enough to choose before, like above I am Shillong or Amritsar, because I have
No,
calls from these also? No.
no, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Just 1 quick minute. Okay, so we'll begin with the case study. Is there anyone who's not able to see the case study, not able to view the case study or something? Everyone is? Perfect. So what I'll do is I hope everyone has their case studies opened up. So what will happen is once you reach a B school, your examinations will not happen the way they have happened in your schools and undergraduate colleges and these things, right? More often than not, you'll be given a specific case study, and related to that case study, you'll be given a couple of questions. The questions might be related to your strategy, they might be related to finance, they might be related to marketing, something like that. In every case study, there will be a dilemma that will happen. कि सर इस कंपनी को ये करना चाहिए, इस कंपनी को वो करना चाहिए, something like that. And as managers, what would your call be by the end of it? Right. And obviously you will only be able to talk about it if you have actually analyzed the case study. So that is what we have, in our hands right now, at our disposal right now. We have to decide how to exactly read a case study, which will be very helpful once you reach not just MBA colleges, but there might be a small case study given in your these interviews as well. Now, this is a 20-page case study. So I'll not be scaring you. You might have, I don't know, 2 or 3 pages of case studies as well. I wasn't able to find it. We got it in like our first trimester or something. So in our interviews, you might have 1 or 2 page of case study and basically help decide. This is kind of in Zatka decision making kind of aspect as well, right? How do you read a case study? Initially, for beginning, I will not kind of make it very tough for you people. You read it the way you read a reading comprehension. So how I used to do it, I'll tell you. I used to skim through all the major things initially, making sure that I kind of know ki kahan pe important points hain. That is something which I kind of made sure. After you've read, let's say 5, 10, 15 case studies, you will be trained enough, just like in an RC, right? The first RC that you read, you kind of feel that what exactly where to focus, where not to focus, something like that. After maybe 10, 15 RCs, you have a certain idea कि हाँ यार अच्छा ये इसकी बात हो रही है. This is how I am able to. So this is something which will happen. You need to be patient with it, right? Before I go ahead, maybe someone, Yashaswini, how would you suggest we can maybe read this case study? What's your best case? How can we go ahead with this? क्योंकि 20 पन्ने का है यार, इतना टाइम नहीं होता है एमबीए में कि 20 पन्ने का पूरा पूरा पढ़ो.
So I was only thinking like basic wala tarika, like read
Yeah.
it and make points out of it. So like skip, read it like, matlab, skim it and read it and write down the points that are important.
Okay. So what I personally do is I do not write everything down again because time is a luxury which I do not have right now. So what I do is मेरे PDF में I keep highlighting as I'm writing, or maybe if I have a sheet of paper, I keep highlighting. So I'm not exactly making notes. I'm doing everything that's possible in my life right now to save time. Um, सारे efforts करने के बाद भी you can imagine today I left my place at 7 in the morning and I am in the second last meeting of my day at 9:30 in the night. So you do everything possible to actually save time as much as possible. Coming back to the reading, what you do is initially you skim through trying to understand what exactly is the case trying to ask, right? The title over here talks about Royal Enfield. It talks about matchless growth and dominance. So maybe this is regarding a case that would be related to marketing. Maybe this would be related to strategy. It's highly unlikely that this is a core finance wala case. It's highly unlikely that this is an HR wala case. It might be there, but it's unlikely as of now. So you kind of shift gears inside your head, and that is what you go ahead with. So, and then again, there's no substitute to actually reading it. So you have to read it 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever pages. Yes, you're skimming through it, but you're still reading it. So you go through understanding, okay, Royal Enfield, I have an idea. Maybe all the guys over here would have an idea. Maybe a few of you do have a Royal Enfield as well. कितने लोगों के पास है यार? Enfield कितने लोगों के पास है? एक
I
इंसान के
have.
पास है. Great, man. That's great. So maybe Shank already has a bit of an idea about what Royal Enfield is, what exactly its products are, as they say. And you go ahead reading, skimming through all the details, making sure you are highlighting all the things that you feel कि हाँ ये ज़रूरी है. This is something which I might need to come back based upon whatever it is. And you build, as I like to say, ladders inside your brain connecting to various levels. So level one is the basic understanding of the case, which I've said enough number of times. Level two is ठीक है case क्या है, चल marketing का लग रहा है मुझे या strategy का मुझे लग रहा है. Initially they will always introduce the company, introduce the case, which I and a lot of my colleagues have a very bad habit of skipping. Please do not do that. Do not skip it. After you've read like 100, you know, cases, you might end up skipping introduction, vagera, because it's not entirely important. But then again, it's suggested to read as much as possible. So you read a bit about industry landscape. It actually tells you Royal Enfield अभी कहाँ पे operate कर रहा है. What exactly its challenges might be, what exactly are the problems that it might have going forward over here. So like it has mentioned ki, if you go on the second page, if you look at the fourth paragraph, it will actually talk about in February 2018, India's Central Board of Excise and Customs considerably reduced the previously high imports duties and so on. So ये सब चीजें you can very easily highlight because once you come back, you might need this to actually put forward a point. Again, as I said, marketing है, strategy है, so it's important to know कि government की तरफ से regulations क्या हैं. These things will come with practice. It's okay. मुझे भी नहीं आता था 6-7 months earlier. So again, going ahead, you need to kind of highlight a couple of important numbers, as they say. Numbers can be about की growth कितनी हुई है पिछले quarters में, पिछले 5 साल में, the past 10 years or whatever. Estimated growth कितनी है. Numbers can be what exactly is, again, the government imposing taxes. So how is the revenue of the company being affected? This is something especially for anyone who's interested in finance and other people as well. These numbers are very important. These numbers will help you understand how to decide on various aspects of the case. So the 1 or 2 pages that you might get in your interviews, or maybe VAT PI sessions, these numbers will actually play a crucial role in whatever it is. So there's one aspect saying कि क्या company को grow करना चाहिए. Yeah, let's say there's an XYZ company which is doing well in South India, and there's a question कि क्या हमें North India में expand करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए. 1 or 2 page case study. There's one person who says कि हाँ sir करना चाहिए because of some generic reason. Never write very generic reasons in your answers. There's another person who says, okay, so the government is reducing taxes on XYZ products. And there is, again, some other number which you can back it. Hence, we should expand in Northern India as well. This answer will carry more weightage because it will show that you've analyzed the case in a better manner, right? Any questions till now? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Bore ho rahe hain, sir.
So, sir, essentially, we have to give a solid reasoning
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the answer to the case study.
yeah, yeah. Dude, I wrote very generic answers in my trimester one. This is a learning which I have by experience. Never give generic answers to these people. Right. Be as
Understood, sir.
specific as possible. Okay. Um, so once you start reading, after again, this will come with practice. After a certain number of paragraphs, a few pages, 1 or 2 pages, maybe once you'll come on page 3. I personally, again, I wouldn't suggest that. I would personally skip a couple of paragraphs in the about section, maybe in Royal Enfield, but then I'm able to do that because I know about the company, because I've read about the company. Kalko, if there is some XYZ company which comes in about which I have no idea, let's say Crystal comes in, I have no idea about Crystal, I'll still read a couple of lines about Crystal. Royal Enfield, I can back myself right now, whatever it is, right? So I might skip a couple of pages, a couple of lines came through. I'll read about exponential growth. So this is about picking and choosing that where actually to kind of invest your resources of, of your brain basically. Once you're done with the understanding exponential growth, we can actually understand product portfolio. Now this is where kind of understand कि यार ये ना strategy का case लग रहा है मुझे. Pretty sure it's not financing. Pretty sure it's not probably it's not marketing as well. So once they talk about product portfolio, they start talking about production capacity. These things are strategy. Now these are different segments which you come in and you study in an MBA course. If you can use these keywords, great. लेकिन गलत मत बोल. Finance का case study को तुम strategy बोल दोगे, that's problem. So if you're able to figure out कि हाँ यार ये strategy है, maybe read a bit about things, you'll be able to kind of understand it better. Right? Um, आपका production capacity वगैरह हो गया. उसके बाद once you go on page 5, focus on quality. Again, this is something which I know about Royal Enfield, so I would kind of read a few lines and skip. You can prefer skimming through it if you're not able to get a gist of it, right? And again, you keep going on and on in this manner towards till page 9. This is how you go on. It's not there's no rocket science that is related to it. It's hardcore practice, nothing else. Focusing your resources where it's actually needed. कई बार ध्यान जहां नहीं देना चाहिए वहां दे रहे हो, जहां देना चाहिए वहां नहीं दे रहे हो. That's problematic because in MBA schools and B schools, you'll have a discussion on these topics as well. And if you're having a discussion, you have to have solid points to back whatever you're saying. If you're not having solid points, the other person is actually winning, right? That is how it is. Now we'll come on page 10. There are exhibits given, right? Now exhibits are like in between the page, there will be some data given. आगे bracket में लिखा होगा exhibit 1, right? So exhibit 1 is this itself. If you see, this is made, the exhibits are majorly 99% of the times it's basically financial data, which is related to maybe fiscal year, Raji, as probably you can see on page 10. 2014 to 15, 15, 16 वगैरह वगैरह domestic sales कितने हैं. This is why you do your data interpretation वाला tables, because this is where it gets utilized, that knowledge gets utilized. So you are able to see कि अच्छा two wheelers में growth है कि नहीं है. 14-15 में 15.98 है. 15-16 में 60.64 है. Approximately क्या growth हो सकती है 16-17 वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. The motorcycles cycles are exported units, domestic sales units. That is your exhibit 1. It will help you again decide what exactly is happening. Let's say we talk about the two wheelers aspect. What exactly is happening in the two wheelers aspect? Now this is entirely. Now if the two wheelers is growing at a rate of let's say 2% per annum, should we invest a certain amount of our resources in the two wheelers aspect or not is something which is left for you to decide. This is mathematics. This is hardcore data interpretation, which I'm pretty sure, given that a few people have calls from IIM Shillong and so on, it's you people are good enough in that, right? Um, if I look at exhibit 2, again, approximately the same. It talks about the sales volume. So again, hardcore numbers. You'll have hardcore numbers where they'll talk about key. There are April, May, these are the sales, May, these are the sales, June, May, these are the sales, and so on and on and on. There are various exhibits which happen. This case is extremely exhaustive. This has all the data which you might have. initially you will not get cases like this. The reason I've given you this case is that it has everything basically. It's not a small case. So if you're able to even read and understand a bit about this case, have discussions about this case, um, cases that are like 2 pages, 3 pages long are like a walk in the park for you, right? So whatever I have explained till now, do you have any questions? Do you have any doubts? Whatever. This is majorly how you do a case study. Right? I do not want it to overcomplicate it for you guys. Any questions about this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, in between, like there were several points, like the point where the quality about Royal Enfield was mentioned. You
Yeah.
said like
Yeah.
you knew about it, that's why you skipped it. So
Yeah.
like I have a question that like in this skimming वाला process, हम लोग सर बहुत important points तो नहीं बीच में miss कर देंगे क्योंकि इतना ज़्यादा content है.
Okay. Two things. So why would I skip is important as well. At this point of time, there are around 6 to 7 case studies that we have to analyze every day, right? And this is just like 10% of the work that we have. There are examinations happening. There are, all these sales and club activities that are happening. There are XYZ things that we have to do, corporate projects and so on. We cannot afford to sit and read all of those 10, 15 pages. Sorry, 10, 15 cases, which is like what, 100, 150 words, right? So if I have an idea, if I feel that I will be able to back my point because I know about Royal Enfield, I would skip that. But then again, I'm just being very honest over here. Right? You need not do that because I have 6 months of experience behind me. So when I see a certain graph, I have an idea कि अच्छा recession आ रहा है. Let's say this is what the graph of the company is. The next 6 months, probably this is what the graph is going to look like. Given that I know about Royal Enfield, okay, so I can do well with skipping a couple of lines. Right? I wouldn't suggest you do that because in your examinations there will be 2 or 3 pages. 2 or 3 pages in your what PI whatever, if at all that comes. 2 or 3 pages if you're skipping 10 lines, I mean, what's left of it? Because 2 3 pages generally 1 page आपका exhibits होगा. 1 or 2 pages is basically you might have a dilemma, a very basic case study would talk about. Let's say I am there and Arpit is there. Arpit is a very diligent guy who's doing very well, who's growing in the company, who's just joined. And I'm someone who's a senior manager. I'm getting in majorly 90% of the sales and so on and everything, but my behavior is very bad. Like I'm not complying with the good boy image that I'm supposed to, and I'm kind of not a very good person basically. So how exactly would you as a CEO handle this situation? Because you cannot fire me. You've read in the Zartka decision making all aspects. You cannot take the extreme step of firing someone. You cannot take the extreme step of letting it be. So what exactly would you do? These are the kind of case studies which you might have. And so skipping it is would not. I'm sorry, very long answer, but this is maybe how you're supposed to do it. Did I answer your
Oh,
question?
yes, sir, definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Someone else?
So when like the case studies are this long, like during the MBA as well,
Yeah.
so what kind of questions do they ask after that? Matlab, it's like comprehension type questions or
No, no,
concept
no, no.
based?
It will test your entire understanding of the subject. If I were to ask you, let's say, linking to this case study, if I were to ask you, I would simply talk about should Royal Enfield expand its product line, and how would you back it? So this is not a comprehension. You won't find an answer in
Yes.
the case study, right? You'll have to analyze the exhibits, you'll have to analyze the case study, and then you'll have to write about that. Yes, they should do that, but why? So this is what I spoke about. Key initial May, you'll be highlighting a couple of things. Let's say government taxes are being reduced. People are, now the lockdown is open. People are intending to buy more, two-wheelers, whatever. This is shown by exhibit 2, whatever. So 1 or 2 pages is what you write about this. This is what the model question in this would look like.
Okay.
Right? And then case studies will have different, like it will come from different subjects. This is strategy. There will be a marketing case study, an HR case study. The small example that I gave, that how would you handle this, this employee problem. There can be a finance case study, which I hate because I'm a marketing guy and I don't exactly understand. I understand consulting, I understand marketing, I do not understand much of finance. So there might be a finance case study in which there's a lot of number crunching that might happen. So these things are kind of there which will happen, and you'll have to do a lot many things which you do not exactly like. to be honest. But then that's life itself, right? So yeah. Any other questions, or do you want me to move on to the business?
Sir,
One small thing.
Yes, Soumya.
sir, actually, if a person is not from BCom or finance side, let's
Okay.
say he is or she is from BA side, so
Okay.
we have to do case study individually, or a group effort is allowed.
In your college or in the exam?
Sir, in the college.
It depends. There are academic groups that are formed. So you might have a case study all to your own self as well. That might be of 40 pages. You might have a case study like a group session or a group academic group requirement that would entail as well. That would be, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 pages, whatever. So it depends. It's very dynamic basically. There's no one special rule that works everywhere. So yeah.
Sir, but in exam we have to do it individually only.
Examinations, 90% of them are individual. One or two examinations will happen in a group. But that is something else. Don't concern yourself with that exactly. I'm sorry. Don't concern yourself with that exactly. But as of now, yeah, it depends. Again, it depends. Mostly examinations are individual, 90% of them.
Okay, sir.
Okay, let's talk about very quickly a few basic news about what's happening in the business world, what's happening otherwise around as well. I'll just talk about a couple of maybe news articles which maybe you've read, and if you want, we can discuss very quickly about them. There's been news about first intranasal COVID vaccine, which is supposed to be launched on the 26th of January. So maybe you can make a note about this and read about this as well. It's very kind of it's an interesting aspect which is there. Then there was obviously the Morbi Bridge, which had collapsed, maybe which many of us had read in the news articles about. There's Joshimath, which we've heard. It is sinking, as they say. Yeah, I'm sorry. So we've all heard about Joshimath, which is sinking. There are a number of structural and architectural problems which are happening. So I'm just telling you the major headlines I want you guys to read majorly about it. We all know about the Rahul Gandhi and how exactly is he trying to be. Although this is politics, don't delve too much into politics. But then again, yeah, I'm sorry.
About the business news. So in my interview, in Rohtak interview, I told that there have been laying off in the IT sector, and majorly the edtech startups are laying off the most. Byju's has topped the list.
Okay.
So they asked me about the implications and reasons. So I gave the reason that there had been a frenzied hiring during the COVID because people didn't have the prospect of going outside and for the education. And now because there is an investor winter has hit, they are just laying it off. But the implications was a part which was I was a bit confused about. So I would like to have your take on it.
I mean, see, this actually is a very open-ended question. I'll tell you why. So when you talk about businesses laying off people, was there any specific aspect which you spoke about?
I said that because the news was that 40% of the laying offs had been from the edtech sector. Byju's, Unacademy, Vedantu, all of them had been laying off. So they said that what are the reasons and implications? Reasons I was very sure about because of there was a frenzy of hiring during the COVID time. That is the truth. But the implications I was not sure about.
So see, first of all, reasons again, financial difficulties which happen and people do kind of end up laying off employees. There are companies which are reducing costs as well. Not always is a nation's economy in doldrums. They might just be reducing costs, or maybe they are pivoting on a new, towards a new aspect of their business, because of which they might have to lay off a couple of people, which might not be useful. They might lay off because of again, in an anticipation of let's say an economic downturn as well, which is the case in UK and majorly the European Union these times around as well. What was the other part of the question? I'm sorry, implication.
What does the future hold for the edtech? I think that was what they were asking.
What does the future hold for edtech?
Yeah, because my question was more inclined towards that side only.
See, very specifically, India is a gold mine when we talk about edtech, simply put. there are plethora of issues which are even currently they're not solved exactly. We do not have answers to those solutions, and tech is something which comes in as a golden goose. However, as in Spider-Man, they say, with greater power comes great responsibilities. So as of now, the edtech sector is not exactly able to address those great responsibilities, because of which they are in doldrums. The day they will be able to manage those responsibilities, one of the major one being aggressive selling, because of which customer feedback is extremely negative. So if they're able to manage that, if they're able to make sure that the customer feedback is good enough, India, again, in my opinion, is an infinite market. Now, this is a personal opinion. India is an infinite market, right? You can keep on selling something if people are ready to buy. Even if you're selling a bag of biscuits and nothing else, and you're a billionaire within a couple of weeks, right? So I'll put up a question over here. A very famous candy, which got very famous. Does anyone know the name? It's greenish in color, which actually sold in millions of numbers.
Kacha mango bite?
Pulse.
Yeah,
Pulse.
sorry. Yeah, it's Pulse.
Pulse.
Read the Pulse case study.
Okay,
It's very
Pulse.
interesting. Right. I mean, it was an instant hit as soon as it came in the market. So I'm just giving you a case study to kind of read and maybe talk about in your interviews as well. Other than that, implications यही हैं कि I'm sorry, you asked me what lies in store for the tech market.
Yeah.
I mean, there are challenges. There are challenges. We're not predicting the future कि बंद हो जाएगा या फिर अच्छा हो जाएगा. There are challenges and they need to address these challenges. If let's say a Byju's is able to, a few of you maybe know, I was there as a manager in Byju's during the heydays when Byju's was kind of growing exponentially, and all of us profited immensely from the amount of growth, the amount of incentives that we earned over there, right? So everything can actually come back, the amount of money, the amount of respect, everything. But then they have to manage they have to, make sure the stakeholders are happy enough, right? So yeah, if they are addressing the challenges, it's good enough. If they're not addressing it, there are darker days ahead of them.
I had an observation regarding Byju's that
Yeah.
like as soon as they aligned with their not exactly their offline counterparts, I'm talking about Akarsh. That
Yeah.
thing I think has completely gone south, and it had its implications on their.
Do you
So
have
what
any
is
data to back it?
No, but like it's just an observation because I have
Yeah, observation, but you must have read it somewhere. You must have seen some table, something like that.
no, I'll tell you the truth. I actually visit Gorakhpur for
Okay.
my classes. So
Okay.
there was like initially when I started going like 3 to 4 months back, there was a lot
Okay.
of these BDAs from Byju's that were going to Gorakhpur and they were trying
Yeah.
to make the
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the last I heard from them, it was like they were talking among themselves. They were talking about the firings. Or they were saying that the time has come, and now
Yeah.
it has completely gone. I don't see any BDAs over there. Nothing.
Gorakhpur used to be a gold mine back in 2019-20. Although again, overexploited and customer, I won't get into that. Whenever I'm saying something, always have data to kind of back it up. I would suggest that if you feel कि हाँ ऐसा हो रहा है, there has to be some news article, some data which says the same. Just talk about it. So Economic Times may on the 15th of January I read this, which is why I feel that this is other cases. Now this will add more weightage to whatever I'm saying.
I don't remember where I read it, but I did read about this that
सर्च
they
करना
bought
यार, सर्च कर,
Akash. Okay.
सर्च कर, सब कुछ मिलेगा, इंटरनेट पे सब कुछ है, ठीक है? Yeah, coming back to the news articles, where was I? We were talking about, okay, the laying off aspects. We all know about the Ukraine-Russia conflict, I believe. Please be updated on that. Please have an idea what is happening. We all know about the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, where there are protests currently that they wish to join India. I hope we are all aware about what exactly is happening in Pakistan, right? What exactly is happening in Sri Lanka. These are our neighbors. They directly affect whatever is, the business situation scenario in India is. So please have an idea about whatever is happening in Pakistan. It might, I don't know, I can't say it officially, but it might get split into 4 or 5 nations of its own, smaller nations of its own. You never know. But then again, please refrain from commenting any political views or laughing about them. They will not exactly prefer that. Um, Air India has been in the news. They've been fined, and the pilot was grounded for a couple of months because he was violating a couple of rules. I believe on a New York to Delhi flight or something. So maybe you can read about that
Yes.
as well. What Vaibhav was speaking about, Google is chopping down around 12,000 jobs as well, which is approximately 6% of the global workforce. So, I'm sorry, it's not just edtech. I mean, obviously, edtech is kind of famous, but then it's other aspects of. Okay, I lost the article, man. It's actually other aspects of the world as well, where exactly all of that is happening. Just a moment, I lost the article. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please read about Aditya Birla. There's a very interesting case study which is happening in which they're trying to raise funds. And what exactly is the strategy? So with this, if there's someone who's interested in finance, this would be a good enough aspect. Um, Apart from that, Netflix with the number of users has dropped. So if you wish to kind of have a way around some answer, maybe you can speak about it, talk about it. Read a bit about crypto as well. Crypto is something which was there last year, which is there this year as well. Indian team yesterday got knocked out of the World Cup by New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. If anyone has been into watching hockey, um,
Yeah.
other than
Yes,
that,
I saw the score.
yeah, exactly. The place below us in terms of rankings, but then it is what it is, man. Other than that, what exactly can I talk about? There's Swiggy, there's
Um,
PhonePe. Yeah.
so have you heard about the Go Mechanic case? Amit Bhasin, their CEO, has
Yeah.
I guess accepted discrepancies in his financial report. He was inflating sales and showing cutting costs to get a higher valuation.
Quite honestly, this happens everywhere, man. So yeah, I've heard about it, but it's kind of part and parcel of most businesses. You get caught is how it is. So yeah, I've read about it. Um, Other than that, I have a couple of minutes. Let's very quickly answer a couple of your questions, whatever doubts you people might have. And let's go one by one. Whatever sessions you had some great people come in here, man. I've been active on the group kind of. You had people come in from IIMs and the NMIMS and Symbiosis of the world, which is pretty great. There was someone from MDI as well, or FMS, I believe. MDI, right?
MDI, sir.
Devang
Yes,
sir,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Devang
Yes,
sir
sir.
was there.
Came in as well. Yeah, man, these are great people. Please make sure whomsoever comes, there's a word called networking. As soon as you reach a B school, you'll hear it like a million times. Make sure you're reaching out to these people, sending them a request or something on LinkedIn, hearing from them, whatever it is. Just grow a circle as much as possible. It is very useful. Let's say you might go to an average B school as well. I'm not saying you, um, someone might go to an average B school as well. But if he has his networks in the best colleges, I mean, it is the best option that's there for him, right? So yeah, let's open it for questions. A couple of minutes. Any questions, man? Shoot whatever. Doubts, problems, sir, समझ नहीं आ रहा है, whatever.
Sir, regarding data, when being asked question on the news or a case study,
Yeah.
is it necessary to have the exact data, or could we, approximate it a bit?
I mean, exact data, no one is able to talk about always, right? I mean, exact
Yes.
numbers, no one is able to talk about, but then the approximation has to be close enough. Now, if Google has laid like 6% of its workforce, you can say like 5 to 6% or between 5 to 10%. If you go and say 60% of its workforce, that's a problem. So the approximation has to be logical in terms of. And if you do not say, again, I spoke about this the last time. If you do not say, if you do not have an idea about it, प्लीज डू नॉट स्पीक अबाउट इट. वहां पे हीरो बनोगे यार, वो पिछले 20-25 साल से इंटरव्यू ले रहा है, वो समझ जाएंगे, राइट? So this is literally an experiment I did in one of my colleges. When I had gotten into my college, I knew कि मुझे मेरा ये होने वाला है. So I won't take the name, I went into one of the colleges, just experimenting a couple of my answers, and those people were able to guess he's bluffing. So please do not do that, right? Yeah. Any other question?
Yeah, one thing, Akash.
Yeah.
Can you share a little experience about the NM interview ad and this? They have added this Watson Glaser test. So any tips about that? Because
Yeah, sir was speaking about it. Okay. Two parts to your question. Answering the first part, anything about my interview, right? Which happened last week,
yeah,
couple of
just to
years.
get an idea of like
So the
NM
NMIMS interview. The
yeah,
NMIMS,
NM
I
interview.
thought the summer interview. Yeah, NMIMS interview में they'll ask you to write an SOP. I believe that still happens, right?
Yeah, SOP they are asking.
Be very thorough with whatever your SOP is. Be very thorough with whatever your CV is. Your questions will be around that majorly. Okay. If you're smart enough, they will allow you to drive the interview. If any of you remember, I said कि कुछ hooks place करना अपने answers में. If you remember from the last conversation we had, they will latch on to those hooks and they'll speak about that. This is what happened in my interview. I placed a couple of hooks. I took them towards my sales experience. I took them towards my traveling experiences, and they were very happy discussing that. I was very uncomfortable discussing my academics. I was kind of afraid कि मुझसे पूछ देना उन्होंने engineering का कुछ तो मुझे तो बहुत कुछ आता नहीं है because I passed out like a couple of years back. So they did not pose any question about engineering. Although if you are a fresher, you might have a couple of questions. Again, this is probability. जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ उसका उल्टा भी हो सकता है, right?
Mhm.
Although if you're a fresher, you should be kind of thorough with whatever your main subjects were. If you have work ex, you should be thorough with whatever job you are doing. Who's the CEO of a company? Who was your manager? What does the company do? So on and so forth. Right. What was the other question, Shank?
Yeah, they've added this Watson Glaser test. So any tips about like sir was telling that this is a psychometric test.
So
Any tips about?
psychometric test is the best test, यार. उसके लिए कुछ पढ़ना नहीं होता है. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be honest with it, right?
Oh,
So what a psychometric test would be, let's say I ask a question, if you had an altercation with one of your friends, would you handle it immediately or later on? Like choose one, right? And based on that, the system will give you some marks, some not marks, but some number, right? Some other question, some other number, some other question, some other number. And में वो कुछ numbers add on, okay? There's a certain personality based report that you get. I can take literally a class of an hour. How exactly does the background work? But should you think about it? No, you shouldn't. It doesn't matter. Okay. You have to be honest. You have to give whatever you feel is the right answer. The problem comes in when you start picking it. देखिए होता क्या है, एक आंसर कुछ और हो जाएगा, दूसरा आंसर जब वो घुमा के पूछेगा तो कुछ और हो जाएगा, right? And you will not remember the questions. A lot many times just a single or two questions come on the screen, and once you have passed them, you cannot, kind of like the NMAT exam, you cannot go back and have a look at the questions once again. So it's simple, man. Just write whatever you feel like it, and whatever you feel ki, हाँ, what I would do in that situation. That's the best for you.
okay, okay, sir. Thank
There's no preparation or whatever. Just be honest.
you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Any other questions? How is the preparation been, man?
Sir, preparation is going fine, but one problem is going on. Like in
Yeah.
current affairs section, like it is a very big problem. It feels like when we get those experiences of interviews, we are looking at they are just driving the interview towards the current section. कि क्या चल रहा है दुनिया में, क्या हो रहा है, इसमें क्या हो रहा है, तो खुद के जो ड्राइव होता है वो खत्म होकर के उधर सारा पूरा शिफ्ट हो जाता है.
Again, this is a skill set, man. This is not something which I can, just answer कि ये formula लगाओ और हो जाएगा.
Yes,
To
sir.
turn the interview in a specific direction which you want is something which will come with practice. There's no formula कि सर a plus b whole square लगा दो इसमें हो जाएगा, right? Firstly. Secondly, talking about current affairs, just list down the major headings, if I may say so. Marketing, strategy, finance, basic business, all those things. Government policies and so on. उसमें at least एक या दो major news you should have an idea about within the past 1 month or something, right? So you have something to talk about, even if nothing, right? So you should be having an idea. मुझसे भी आज पूछोगे यार कि सब कुछ कोई XYZ न्यूज़ लेके आ जाओ तो I won't be able to tell, I won't be able to talk about it, maybe, perhaps, right? But then I'll be able to back it कि हाँ यार अगर गूगल एम्प्लॉयज को निकाल रहा है, so it's highly likely कि माइक्रोसॉफ्ट भी निकाल रहा हो. माइक्रोसॉफ्ट aggressive hiring नहीं ही कर रहा होगा. Now this is just a ballpark guess. नहीं. So this is something which comes in when you're kind of having an idea, when you're experienced enough and you've read enough articles. So that is how it you're supposed to entail. Driving, okay, so how I would do it if I'm not able to answer a couple of questions, I personally would be honest about it. That's a maybe this aspect, this area is not exactly of what my strength is. This is, however, this is something which I've read, and talk about that, and then kind of place hooks in that answer relating to what I would know or talk about. This is how I would do it. Right. I give very honest interviews, man. My skill set, I've always joked about, is not very academic. You ask me very academic questions, I will not be able to answer them. But then you ask me about my work that I've done and basic interview skills. I believe they are, in my opinion, at least they are okay enough, good enough, which is why I am able to crack whatever interviews I am able to. So I play to whatever my strengths are. I'm very honest. सब नहीं आता है, सब कुछ नहीं आता है इंसान को यार. बट जो मुझे आता है मैं उसको बैक कर रहा हूँ, और ये चीज मुझे आता है, इस चीज पे बात करो. And they are sweet enough to talk on that. So yeah. Anyone else very quickly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So if there is any GK question, like in my Rohtak interview, I was asked about 2 female president and the currencies of a few countries. So I wasn't able to answer. I was only able to answer one female president of India. That is the current, and I wasn't able to answer the currency of Greece. So does that make a huge effect in the marking scheme?
Greece. But actually no. The point is, I'll tell you GD crack करने का तरीका क्या है. Always try being the first person to speak. Simply put, right? If you have no idea क्या बोलूं क्या नहीं बोलूं, कुछ नहीं पता है, in that case, first of all, do not be the last person to speak. Never ever be the last person to speak. You're the last person to speak, you're gone. So even if you're not the first person in this case, यार किसी ने पूछ दिया greasy currency का, for foreign exchange क्या चल रहा है, I have no idea about it. So I would probably take some time to think about कि how exactly can I talk about this foreign exchange in general, and then maybe link it to Greece. So I would listen to the first person and then find some problem, some controversial point in what he's saying. And I would say, well, that is okay, but then foreign exchange is something which we have to focus on as well. And foreign exchange is point 1, point 2, point 3 is how it affects the currency of a nation. And again, because this is what my strategy is. So while I'm not entirely sure about the currency of Greece, but this is what I know about Greece, and this is how it will affect it. So while I do not know, I'm still letting the interviewer know that I might not have all the answers, but then I have some data which I'm willing to talk about, which I'm willing to speak about. Secondly, whatever the other people are saying, keep on making a mental note, or maybe have some diary or whatever with you, and kind of say, okay, so this is something which I do not exactly agree with, which was said, which will make sure that the examiner knows that you are an active listener. Right. So maybe this is how you handle questions which you are unable to understand and all those things. Okay, guys, very quickly, last question. Anyone? Done with majorly? Okay. So this was great. Please attend all of these classes. As I said, there are great people, great names that I've heard in this space come up. Try reaching out to them as well. Send a LinkedIn request, whatever. Just try connecting with them. It's a long term goal that you guys should have, not just these interviews or whatever. Yeah, it was a good session with you guys. I hope to see you soon. Right? Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. It was a great session.
Good night, sir. Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.